All right, hello. Welcome back to the Atlanta Sports Guys. The trio is back together again here on a Friday afternoon. Max Marcovitch, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. 3:30.
I guess it is a little early for good evening.
Afternoon. We got so much time.
Day.
Yeah, good
I'm
afternoon.
doing great. How are you?
Not too bad. Yeah, I guess I don't know when it actually officially becomes good evening. When is it appropriate? 5?
Dinner time?
5 p.m.
Okay. When
After
does
the
good
work
morning
day.
end?
Morning ends when morning ends. What do you mean? At noon?
Okay, so noon is when the cutoff is what I'm asking. Yeah. Also here, 19 on the games, Garrett Chapman. Garrett, good evening, sir. I'm doing the good evening, and so
You're just stuck with it.
I'm just
You're rolling.
It's just with me. Garrett, how are you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. We got the Corky Cup Classic coming up. Well, I guess we're in the midst of it, and we're going through, and we're at the Benz tomorrow, so that's gonna be a lot of fun.
I don't understand what they're doing now because like my alma mater, Parkview, played at Johns Creek last night, and that was called the Corky Kell Classic, and they're like playing at all these random. I don't understand what happened to the Corky Kell that I grew up in, where it was an all-day affair at the Dome. You all played throughout, like first thing in the morning, and it wrapped up late as hell on that Saturday night.
Too long of a day, man. That's too long. There's only one football field. No, so they play all over the state now. So they play in a lot of different places, and so I mean, it makes it a little easier for everybody. I mean,
but that's not the Corky Kell Classic. Then call it something else. It's what that is? A week of games. It's a slate of games. That's not the Corky Kell Classic. What you're describing there is what they do every other week of the season.
Yeah, Kell started it off on Wednesday.
What is this?
We've played that's how they've done it for a few years now. So they've done it a few years like that.
God. You leave a state and you think you leave it in good hands. You think you leave it behind in good hands, and the anarchy just takes over.
I love it. No, it makes Saturday palatable. There's just, instead of having like 15 games, you're gonna have like 4 really good ones. You know, I've got Brookwood and Norcross. Those are the 2 I'm doing. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
There you go. Norcross, I don't think is gonna be very good. Brookwood's gonna be good. You get to see Dylan Lonergan up close and personal.
Oh yeah, no, Dylan's a stud.
Good player.
4-star recruit. He might go pro in baseball. I was talking to his coach.
Oh, I know Phil Jones very well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, Parkview's quarterback is probably going baseball too, Colin Hook. So I think he has a higher upside. Not to go back and forth on the Parkview Brookwood situation, but it seems like it's just. I don't know if you knew this or not, but like Parkview baseball is a pretty big deal. It does pretty well. Matt Olson, Jeff Francoeur, national champions, just an everything school, if you will.
Just like Tennessee, right?
Just like Tennessee.
There you go.
Oh man, Max, have you seen the Joe Milton Instagram videos that I've sent over your way?
I deleted Instagram, so no. I have not. I didn't delete. Like my account still exists, but I deleted the app off my phone. It's been gone for
I was
like
gonna say Chase has been sending these videos to some poor soul.
I was gonna say like
just sending it to some random person also named Max Marcovitch.
I had to like go back. I was thinking about going and grabbing my phone out of the other room and be like, who have I been messaging the last couple days? That's not good.
No, it's me. There's just no one on the other end right now. No, I haven't seen the Joe Milton videos, but now it makes me want to log into my Instagram and watch them because I'm here for the Joe Milton hype. It's officially Joe Milton hype season, and it's like a pre-hype. It's a pre-hype for next year. They're just doing it a year early. It's really actually quite nice.
I don't know, man. Full year in the system, just learning. You got a great QB coach.
Yeah, talk yourself into that. Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
it'll be great. It'll be great for like start him, and then when he sucks, that's when you can go to Nico, and that'll be your like. Well, we have to do it now. Yeah,
he's your Marcus Mariota. You know,
you'll lose a game and be like, well, Joe Milton is still Joe Milton after all these years.
I don't know, or he's just great, and 2 years of sitting on the bench and learning the system and just refining his craft, and he's awesome for a year, and then goes number 1 overall in the draft.
That's definitely what's going to happen.
He is the Cam Newton year. I won't rule it out. Like who knows? Who knows?
I will rule it out. I will rule it out. I'm ruling it out right now.
That's the dream right now. So we get Hooker, we get Milton, and then it's Nico. Can you imagine a 3 quarterback run, a 3 Heisman quarterback run?
I can't even listen to this.
See.
I can't even listen to this. I did listen to your.
What he's saying, though. It's going to stay in his imagination. That's the kind of thing that are meant for imagination.
Next summer's quarterback battle of Taven versus Nico versus Joe Milton. I mean, there's some poverty programs around the country that could only dream of just like 2 of those quarterbacks being in your quarterback room, and you're just like, oh man, that'd be awesome. I would love that. Get 3 just physical
That does not hold that QB competition doesn't hold a candle to Cade McNamara and JJ McCarthy right now.
Oh no, there's no competition. It's just Cade's job. What are we talking about?
There is a competition. They're splitting reps 50-50. Harbaugh said it's wide open. What are you talking about? They're both going to play.
Harbaugh's not doing this. Harbaugh's sticking with Old Faithful. Cade McNamara. We're run first school. Like, we're going to just hand the ball off 35 times. We're becoming Wisconsin East.
And you know what? We're going to go 11-1 doing that. We're going to go 11-1 doing that and go to the Rose Bowl, and that'll be fun.
I mean, your schedule's pretty easy. Like, there are some schools that go to Pitt early and, like, challenge themselves, like a Tennessee Volunteers, and there are others that just burn games in the calendar. And Michigan,
and one of those programs is smarter than the other, because there's literally no reason to challenge yourself in non-conference in college football when you're trying to compete for the playoff. There's zero reason.
I don't know. Fan interest, fun games.
I'm interested in winning by 50 against Hawaii, and then UConn, and then Colorado State.
I don't know.
Personally.
Jim Mora.
Those are your 3 out of conference games.
Yeah, they're pretty bad. Garrett,
and then Maryland.
Schedule. Their schedule is a joke.
Oh, buddy. At least Georgia plays Oregon. You know, like Oregon's going to get boat raced, but you know,
wait. This is an assault. Michigan usually plays like we had.
I'm not coming at you. Just one of those.
We had Washington last year. Notre Dame's coming back. The whole thing, whatever. But the division's so hard that like I don't care enough.
There you go. What y'all do care a lot about, though, is the quarterback competition, the text thread of just, you've seen enough. I saw a lot of that over the weekend. Now that you've had a full week, though, to really think about what you saw from Desmond Ridder and Marcus Mariota last week, where are you at, Max?
I mean, Mariota's going to start, and I think that's fine and probably the way it should be. I think you saw things with Ridder that will have you encouraged, and I think that was kind of all you needed. But I also think like the Twitter hype might have been a little over the top for what the performance actually was. I mean, you saw the mistakes in there. You saw some of the inaccuracy. I thought he was really decisive, which was nice to see. Like he wasn't like a rookie, like skittish, didn't know where to go with the ball. But you can see some of the concerns. And they're mostly rookie concerns. So you start with Mariota, and when Mariota doesn't work out, you go to Ridder, and they're probably both going to have tough years, and that's kind of going to be that.
Interesting. What do you think, Garrett?
Like Max said, I mean, like there are encouraging things that I can take from it. I'll take everything that I saw with a grain of salt because it is the first preseason game, and I don't want to react too heavily to something that that we saw there. I mean, against a pretty bad Lions defense, admittedly. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's a preseason game. I want to see him come out and show composure and poise, and he did just that. And I'm encouraged by seeing that. But like Max said, this is Marcus Mariota's job. He's going to be the starter, barring some insane turn of events, which I just don't foresee. They brought in Marcus Mariota specifically to be the starter, and he's going to be the starter. Because it's like at the end of the day, it's like as much as I do want to see Desmond Ridder play, you're also looking at the development of Drake London and the further development of Kyle Pitts. And if Marcus Mariota gives you the best chance to develop those guys, then he needs to be the starter because you're not going to win games regardless. And I do want to see Desmond Ridder. I think we will eventually see Desmond Ridder to see what he can do because I just think the Falcons might get blown out a few times and put in positions where they're just not going to win some games. So might as well put him in, see what he can do. And I'm just not going to make more of what it is or what it could be. So I don't want to overreact. I know it was fun. We were having fun reacting to what we saw. It's just like, oh yeah, he's going to be the starter, whatever, blah, 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 blah. He's going to the Hall of Fame, whatever. No. The level heads prevail. And he's going to be a good quarterback. I'm still pretty confident of that. We'll just see if and when he plays.
Have you all bookmarked Aaron Freeman and his Falcons running preseason depth chart?
No.
Okay, I'm going to drop that in the chat. So he did this really cool thing where he has this Google Doc that is going to keep a running tally throughout the preseason of like who's starting and who's not. So I just dropped it in the private chat. But what's interesting here when I was going through it, we saw a lot of Qadree Ollison this past week, and he looked good. And now you're like, okay, that's interesting. Then you look at the addition of Qadree Hodge, and you're like, is Qadree Hodge going to be a significant factor? Brian Edwards obviously did not play on Friday, but I don't know who between Qadree Hodge and Qadree Ollison intrigues you more as a bigger option going into next year, Garrett?
Qadree Ollison. I mean, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, like, we've been hearing about this guy for a number of years, and he's finally, hopefully, getting a chance to show what he can do. I mean, they said he was going to be a goal line guy last year, and now this year it's, hey, man, he's getting some reps. And so hopefully he can actually do something with it. I still think it's Tyler Algier. I'm on the Tyler Algier train. He is on the backside of as far as like, I'm looking at this depth chart, and he's like on the back of this depth chart. But that's just more of a consistent thing that Arthur Smith has done. He's always put his rookies second team or third team or whatever. He did this with Kyle Pitts last year. He did this. He's obviously doing it with Drake with let me see, where is Drake London? He's
starting at the X.
Well, I guess he is. Never mind. So, but he did that consistently with a lot of these guys going through stuff. But Qadree Ollison, I mean, he's a good player. We'll just see what he can do. He just hasn't really had much of an opportunity. But we saw some of the flashes from things that we've heard about, but now we're finally seeing it. We'll see if it continues on Monday.
What do you think, Max?
Yeah, I think with both of these guys, it's a little bit of, it's not really the sexy name at that spot that we kind of thought might be the guy. And it's sort of a testament to, like, if you play better than, like, at running back, I think we all thought Tyler Algier would probably assert himself into that role. But if it's Qadree Ollison and he's better, like, it's going to be Qadree Ollison. And, that's not saying it's not going to be Tyler Algier, like, it's early and that's week 1 preseason. But it is to say that, like, the better player is going to play. And, like, at receiver, I think you're seeing some of these guys. They clearly like Qadree Hodge. And I think Auden Tate is probably on the out, who they traded. I mean, they traded for, I believe. And it looks like Frank Darby might be on the out. And Frank Darby was a guy who was like a fan favorite. Everyone loved the pick, late round pick. And, if Qadree Hodge and Geronimo Allison, let's say, are like better options, then they're going to stick. And so I do think that is indicative of sort of where the hierarchy is right now. And with guys like that really matters because it will dictate who makes the team. Like, could Damian Williams perhaps not make the team? Is that some crazy idea?
I guess still a possibility. I would be surprised if Damian Williams doesn't make the team.
I probably would too, but I don't think it's like out of the realm.
For sure. I also think it's interesting. So Elijah Wilkinson, left guard number 1, old friend Jalen Mayfield did not have a good night last Friday. And he gets another rough go of it with the Jets. Like, whatever you think about the Jets right now, like the defensive line, I mean, they have literally a Captain America built man and Michael Clemens off the edge out of Texas A&M. You look at their defensive line, like, they have dudes. The Jets defense is going to be good, and they're going to have pass rushers, and we're going to see some stuff. It's going to be different than Detroit. I am most curious to see it. Is it already over? Like, are we moving on? It's like Elijah Wilkinson is the left guard on opening night, and Jalen Mayfield is no longer a part of these future plans. I wonder if we're there. What do you think, Garrett?
I mean, no, I don't think we're there exactly completely yet. Jalen Mayfield's been dealing with injuries, but at the same time, it's like we've seen this with Marlon Davidson too. It's like the best ability is
preseason, by the way.
Yeah. The best ability is availability, and if you're not playing, then we don't know what you can do. So Elijah Wilkinson is building the gap right now, and it's Elijah Wilkinson's job. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination. Jalen Mayfield still needs to be acting as if he's going to be the starter. He needs to be fighting to get that job. I haven't seen anything from him that gives me confidence that that's going to happen, but saying it's over, I'm not ready to say it's over just yet, but coming from a guy who had probably one of the most forgettable rookie seasons that I have seen in a very long time, he needs every single rep, and he needs every single rep to be as good as possible. And now he's just not even getting those reps because he's been dealing with all these injuries and everything else. So no, it's not over yet. Elijah Wilkinson, I'm putting if I'm a betting man, I'm betting on Elijah Wilkinson to take the starting job though.
I just don't think they're going to mess around with this anymore. They're just like, no, like we're best players playing. Like you look at this, Qadree Hodge in the starting line. Like I don't think Arthur Smith is messing around when it comes to hierarchy and throwing shit at the wall. Like he is going to play the best guys. And it's like, even if we drafted you high or whatever, you can't play, you can't play. Like this is going to be a merit based situation in Atlanta. And I think that's fun. Max, is there anything that you saw from the defensive line? Because I mean, there are a lot of tiers when we look at this defensive line and the bodies this team just needs to really compete week in, week out. Was there anyone that stood out that you're like, oh, maybe we can get a little bit more here from this player?
I mean, I'm really just looking for flashes, right? I mean, it's hard to judge on like sustained performance in a preseason game. And we saw a few Arnold Ebiketie flashes that got me like feeling something. That's kind of what I'm going to look for this season, right? Because how many of these pieces are really guys that are surefire to build around? And I think that a few of them will establish themselves as sort of keepers. And I think, a guy like Taquan Graham, maybe like, I think you're kind of grasping at like, who's going to show me something. And you really hope it's the young guys, right? You hope it's Ebiketie. You hope it's Malone. But again, like that's not going to dictate who plays. So I think two things, like who plays tells us something. It tells us where they are in the hierarchy. It tells us how they're practicing, because we know Arthur Smith isn't going to throw out Arnold Ebiketie if he's not ready. We know he's not going to throw out Malone if he's not ready. And if he is being thrown out, then to some extent he is ready. So, I don't have tremendous hope for the Falcons defensive line this year. Let's just say that. But like right now, especially in the preseason, I'm looking at flashes. Like who jumps off the screen and does something and makes a play.
I'm pretty optimistic about Ebiketie. I think he's going to be a good player. I feel pretty good. I think it was last week. Garrett made the case for Lorenzo Carter leading this team in sacks this year, and we'll see. It's a possibility on that front. And I mean, it would be nice to get something out of Lorenzo Carter, but a lot of it is health with him. He's never played 17 games, and we'll see how many games we get out of him before injuries. But I don't know. There's nothing we can do about that, and we'll have to see. In terms of the Jets game, though, on Monday Night Football, Garrett, what are you most looking for based on what we saw in Game 1? What's your biggest thing that you're going to be focused on for Game 2?
Well, like Max said, I mean, it's just looking for the flashes. I mean, there's only so much that you can really take from a preseason game, regardless of where it's being played or who it's against. I want to see these rookies continue to play, and I want to see these one-year guys. So the guy like you just mentioned, Lorenzo Carter, he's a guy I really want to see play. I want to see what he can do. I mean, this first-team defense got run over by the Lions, and I want to see them come out and see how they respond after they've been. That's what everyone talked about. Was after that game, it was not as much about the bend but don't break sort of mentality that they had and what they showed in the later on in the game. All people talked about was that first drive, or DeAndre Swift just sort of ran it down their throats. So I want to see how they respond to that. And then, like I said, like the rookie players, I mean, I want to see what they can do. I want to continue to see that progression and see who he starts putting faith in and to actually make plays and putting in position to do stuff. And I want to see if they actually do the stuff, So I don't know. Just like I said, win-loss records don't really matter all that much to me, but I want to watch these individual performances and specifically on this defense. I want to see what these guys can do.
All right, there you go. I like it. On the Hawks, I have one Hawks things for you guys. What's curious to me is I was starting to think about because we're having different NBA people on this pod and just thinking about the hierarchy. Because when you think about contenders and you think about wins, I think probably right now the Sixers should be the favorite to win the most amount of games in the regular season next year based on where they're at and their depth and everything. I think they are in a good position to win 60 games. I am curious to see if they can stay healthy enough to do that, but I would not be surprised if they're the favorite on that front. But you look at it and you're like, okay, well, if Boston's getting KD, which they might be forced to just trade for KD because nobody will do it, and KD's like, I'm not reporting until I'm traded. So you put KD on Boston with Tatum. You have Miami, who's not going anywhere. You think about it and you're like, okay, what is the path to the Hawks getting back in the top 4 in the regular season? And I was trying to figure out, okay, what should be the expected win total for the Hawks? Like, what is acceptable based on the offseason moves and where this roster currently stands, Max? What's the number for you that feels the most acceptable?
It is so hard for me to answer this question, and I've been thinking about this too. With like, well, are the Hawks? You know, the Hawks pushed their chips in, right? They did the dig, they did the thing, they made the trade, and they pushed their chips in. And when you make a trade like that, you'd like some kind of assurance that you're like among the elite now.
Yeah,
and I don't think we got that assurance. Like, the Hawks are not as constructed a top 3 team in the East. I don't think anyone could argue otherwise, but what it did do is introduce a level of variance that you haven't had. And like, that variance of what is DeJounte and Trey going to be is the Hawks' upside. Like, if that is the best version of what it could be, then yeah, the Hawks could be an elite team as soon as this year. And so I think it's almost impossible for me to like peg they should win 50 games, they should win 48 games, whatever, until we see what that actually looks like. But I think the ceiling of what's possible is what's changed primarily. Like, expectations maybe have not gone that, have not increased by that much, baseline expectations, but the upside of like the best version of this backcourt is like the foundation of a title winning backcourt is in play. It exists.
that's interesting. Well, Garrett, go ahead.
No, I mean, like Max said, I mean, like I'm not gonna say like a successful season is winning 50 games, because I think this is a team
good putting that as the minimum, because I think that's okay. Like,
that's a good season. That'd be a very good season for them if they win 50 plus games. I mean, look, if they won 50 games, they'd be a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference last year.
But when you look at the East, that's
East
why I
is
think this
good.
exercise is so interesting. Is that, like, I think the East is going to be really top heavy. Like, the Celtics and how many games they should win in the regular season. You look at the Heat; they'll win a bunch of regular season games. The Sixers, the Bucks. I mean, it's just crowded.
I think the right projection now, if you like force me to pick the hierarchy of the Eastern Conference, the right projection is 5th for Atlanta. I think, behind Boston. Well, it depends on Brooklyn, I guess, but Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, and Miami are the teams that I think are. I don't really think you could argue, like, looking at it right now, the Hawks should be picked ahead of those teams. And Brooklyn, we'll see, right? But like, I do think that's more reflective on those 4 teams are all title contenders. And like, I think comfortably you can say those teams are title contenders next year. And the Hawks are not like title contenders as like from
we don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I should say we can't expect the baseline of the Hawks next year to be title contenders. Like, we know those teams are title contenders. We don't know that on the Hawks.
Best case scenario, this Hawks team is a title contender. Best case scenario, but I'm not ready to say that that's a realistic possibility. Things would have to go their way. Like, a lot of things would have to go their way in order for that to happen. But
I don't think we have the coach to enter that territory yet. I think that's the next coach that
maybe
that's the next step.
But the thing is, but Max started. I mean, like, look, I mean, this is a team that's starting to build its identity. I think that was one of the issues that it had last year, is that it was Trae Young and nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bunch of other people who were playing just on the court, just sort of like aimlessly playing basketball. And now I think
then you were just pushed away.
Unless you just didn't. No, then you go play for the Skyhawks. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I think that this team finally has more of an identity. And I think that this Hawks team, if they didn't go through that early season stretch where they were just sort of in that hangover from the 2021 postseason, then we're looking at a team that would have won about 50 games. They were terrible in that first half of the season. But then people forget that this is a team that still flipped a switch. They just couldn't put it over the top because, the Eastern Conference was a lot better this year. And I think it's going to be even better in 2022, 2023. So they cannot afford to have that stretch where they just look like they're listless and without life. I think they're going to go through some growing pains, but growing pains are fine. What frustrated fans and me specifically was that this team looked unmotivated. They didn't look like they cared on any given night. Because, we're a team built for the playoffs. Bullshit. You lost in 5 games to the Miami Heat because you didn't win those games that mattered in November and December. And I don't think that team is going to be the same team that we see in November and December of this year. Are they going to, would that reflect on the win-loss record? That remains to be seen. because you have changed the identity of this basketball team. I want to see how Trey can play off of the basketball. I want to see DeJounte Murray take the ball up the court. I want to see if Nate McMillan is going to rotate these guys properly. At least in my opinion, that what he should be doing. But the pieces are in place for this to be a title contender. I don't think that this is necessarily the year that they are.
Well, I think the way I'm looking at it is like you start a rebuild by like collecting assets, right? You just collect assets and then you figure it out from there. And they started the rebuild with a superstar. That's the best asset you can have. They got their superstar, right? And you transition from like collecting assets to building a team, and that's like a slow process. But like, you know, you signed Danilo Gallinari and Bogdan Bogdanovic because those are free agent assets that you can get in the books and figure it out, right? You trade for Clint Capella because that's good value, and you know he pairs well with Trey. And you just kind of bring these guys in. You add first round Cam Reddish, like the talent's too good, you give him a chance. DeAndre Hunter, like, you know, you trade up for that because you like the player. And they had all these assets going on, but I do feel like they finally sort of constructed a team. And it's kind of the team that we all thought would work best with Trey, in theory, right? You have Trey, who is like, as I've said on this podcast a number of times, basically a top 5 NBA offense by himself. You throw him out there, and if he's healthy, you're going to be a top 5 offense. And that's a cheat code of kind. That comes with a huge liability in that he needs to be surrounded by 4 guys who can guard. You have that now. And not only do you have that, you have depth on the wings. You added Mo Harkless. You added the Holiday brothers.
And Aaron, yes, people forget.
You're just throwing defenders like all over the place, and you have 2 bigs that you like. John Collins is a little bit the outlier piece in all this, and you know I think he's kind of here because there was really no other option to turn to, and that's sort of a different conversation entirely. But now you've gone from like here are all our assets to like here's our team, and I think that's what's like got me cautiously excited is like. It's no longer like where do we find 20 minutes for Cam Reddish? Like how do we? The questions are not like how do we get all these guys the ball and like Kevin Huerter, like where is he going to get his buckets and Bogey? The questions are more to me like health and fit, and those are things we can't really see until they happen.
Well, I also look at it, and I think this is something that folks the Hawks could be number 1 in the East next year. I'm not. That doesn't even mean that they're a title contender because you can be number 1 in the East and you can win a lot of regular season games. And part of what wins a lot of regular season games is both depth and vets. The only young guys Nate's gonna have to play are all NBA guys. it's DeJounte Murray and Trae Young and John Collins. Like it is. Outside of that, we'll see Onyeka Okongwu will get some minutes, but like you look at the lineups, and this is what we kind of simplify, where it's like the Cam Reddish, like you were talking about, guys, is that Cam and those kind of guys, he's not worrying about anymore. Like it's straight up vets and vets only. Like that is who is surrounding the core pieces, and that there will always be a good basketball player on the floor at all times for the Hawks, and who knows his job. Like there's a difference between throwing out Jalen Johnson, who doesn't know what he's doing yet in the NBA, versus Mo Harkless, who's like, I'm going to play defense, play the floor, shoot corner threes, and that's it. Like I'm not doing anything else. I know what I'm doing. I think there's just going exactly. I think there's just going to be exactly, and I think that's where we're at. Is I don't know if that makes us a contender, but I think people might be like, I'm banging the over if it's 50 for the Hawks on opening night. Like if that's the over/under win total for the Hawks next year, I'm leaning the over because I think right now Vegas has it in the 40s. I want to say was it like 46.5 or something?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm comfortable hitting the over on that. Just
yeah.
I mean, I'm very comfortable hitting the over on that.
I would say to bring some cold water. First of all, I was all over last year's over of 48. I think like all over, and that was not fruitful.
Yeah, they're 46.5. By the way, here's before you continue. Like, let me just throw out who's ahead of us in the East right now. So the Hawks sit at 46.5. Ahead is the Heat at 48.5. The Sixers ahead at 49.5. And then the Bucks at 52.5, and number 1 in the NBA altogether, the Celtics at 55.5. So right now, like you said, Max, number 5. Like that's the number 5 seed right now.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. The reason I would caution against like the over and the regular season like 1 seed stuff is, and I was banging the drum for it last year. I do think it's going to take some time with the two of them. Like, I think just like, just in terms of feeling out how it's all going to work, I don't think it'll be like a hit the ground running type of thing. And so, maybe I'll change my mind, but I don't think I'm going to overreact to like if the Hawks are 500 through 20 games or whatever. But that would not, obviously, that would not help out the over. So I think that's the only thing sort of holding me back on that number.
Yeah, I mean, we are assuming that DeJounte Murray is completely fine with taking a number 2 role. This is a guy who the offense ran through him. He had, like, if you look at Trae Young's numbers, like his usage rate, it was obscenely high. Another guy who was really high was DeJounte Murray for the Spurs. Like people, like, we're just assuming that he's going to be fine taking a back seat. And we're also assuming that Trae is fine cutting down that number substantially. So we're making I think these are fine assumptions to make because they want to win basketball games. I think they're both at that stage of their career. They've kind of cut their teeth a little bit. They know what it takes to win, and they've both lost badly. So they know what it takes to win. But are they willing to do it? That's really the biggest question. And then how does that cohesion work? So, I mean, Max, we both were talking about it. Like that whole period, like that November, December, that's going to be a huge period to see how these guys feel each other out.
And I think the most encouraging like point in the favor of they will figure it out is that they're both energized and into this partnership. Like it's not like you're putting some odd couple together, superstar pairing. Like they both want to play together and they want to make it work. And in the NBA, that's like half the battle with superstars.
One thing that I have taken. One thing that I've taken a lot of heart into specifically is that Trae Young has been training. First off, he's been playing with DeJounte Murray, but then he's also been training with Steph Curry this offseason. And Steph Curry is the king of off-ball offense. If in a perfect world, everyone wants Trae Young to be the next Steph Curry. He's not, obviously. He's a completely different kind of player. But if Trae Young can emulate, at least to some degree, what Steph Curry is able to do off of the basketball. We've talked about this ad nauseum on this podcast, and I've heard it 100 different places. But the fact that he is training with Steph Curry gives me reason to believe that he's trying to make this thing work. And it's for that reason. I mean, I'm good with that number. I think 46.5. I mean, I'm still good pounding the over on that because I think the 4 wins better than last season. Adding DeJounte Murray, I think that adds 4 wins at least.
I think that's the funny thing about all of this, and we can put a bit on it here, is that like we talk about like they're playing together a little bit, but you can respect each other's game and all that kind of stuff, but like we have no idea. Like Trae might really hate this shit. Like he might like, what did I get myself into where I should have pushed for a big DeAndre Ayton or whoever who's not going to gobble up my opportunities? Like what if Trae just doesn't want to play off the ball? What if he's like, I'm not doing this. Like I'm not going to be off the ball player, and they don't just coalesce around one another. We have no idea. Like it is one thing to watch another star player from afar and be like, man, I'd love to have him on my team. I would love to have that kind of help. And then to be like, oh, it's that whole meme of like, oh, reaping what you sow. It's like,
yeah.
That's what I think. It's a possibility. Like we don't know.
It is a possibility, but that would reflect poorly on Trae Young and no one else. Because he has to understand there are limitations to like what he can be in the NBA. Like, and if you constructed in a lab the type of player to play with Trae, it would look something like DeJounte Murray as a secondary creator. And so, to me, that would be like, all right, that's on you, man. Like that is something that he needs to come to terms with. And if he doesn't, the Hawks are not going to be very good. But that's like because of him.
Yeah, and this isn't the same situation as like say like a Dwayne Wade when he invited LeBron to come down to Miami to play and win championships. I think that this team brought DeJounte Murray in here to compete for and win championships, but it's not the same kind of situation necessarily. I mean, like this is a guy he's still going to be number one. Like he may not average like the ball's not going to be in his hands as much as it was, and he may not lead the league in scoring and assists again this year, but he's going to win more basketball games. And I think at the end of the day, if you're winning games on the court and you're fifth in scoring, if I'm Trae Young, I'm sure I'd like that a whole hell of a lot more than being first in scoring and losing. So it's the give and take. It's the give and take. Like Max said, I think if you want the guy who makes your team, that gives your team the best chance to win, it's DeJounte Murray. So if he does it, it's a poor reflection on him. So I think this is going to be a good combination. I think there's a willingness from both guys to make this work, and as long as that's the case, then this is going to be good because you just leverage your entire future to make it work. So the Hawks better sure as hell hope it works.
Yeah.
Last thing on the Atlanta Braves. Did you see this? Did you hear about this? The Braves are in a fun series with the New York Metropolitans. It's been a little bit. Now you get the Astros over the weekend. Like, this is a really tough 7-game gauntlet for Atlanta. When you look at the rest of the season, like, we're almost done. Like, this is about it. Fangraphs still heavily favors the Mets winning this division when it's all said and done. Garrett, your biggest takeaway from the 4-gamer against the Mets?
The young guys are good.
Yeah.
The young guys aren't going anywhere. I mean, look, these guys are they're the real
Swanson
deal.
not young anymore?
No, he's 28 years old.
Also, I feel vindicated
he's in
as someone who's
contract
been saying on this
talks.
podcast for a very long time that Dansby Swanson was not long for the Atlanta Braves. That man is gone. Done.
No, he's under contract. Apparently, according to John Heyman, he's under negotiation. He's having these negotiations. But no, the 3.5 games. I talked to Snicker about this last night. The 3.5 games this time of year is a lot of games. That's a lot, especially when you start looking at the slate of games that the Braves have compared to the slate of games that the Mets have. And the Mets, I'm comfortable to say that the Mets aren't Metsing right now. The Mets are a very good baseball team, and they're going to be a problem for a lot of clubs that they play. So, are they a World Series team? No, maybe not.
Who, the Braves or the Mets?
Either. I mean, we don't know. We don't know about the Mets. I mean, they may or may not be if they can stay healthy, but they have that rotation and they have that. They're deep as far as like guys who can extend ball games and like at bats and everything else. So they get on base, and then they just play small ball and it works. And they're pesky and annoying to the pitcher. But look, they're a good baseball team. I learned that the Braves are a pretty damn good team too. But this is the first series that the Mets had lost within the division all season, and that's a testament to how dominant they've been when they're playing NL East opponents. They've won 38. They're like 38 and like 19 or something when they're playing NL East opponents. That's incredible. So win the series, win the division. The Braves put themselves in as good a position as they could coming into this game, or into the series rather. They got the ice cream machine, which is the important thing for them. Fueled the playoff run last year. But look, I mean, it doesn't get any easier because they have the Cardinals. They have to go to St. Louis to go play the Cardinals. That's a very important series, another one. So
also, Soroka might just come back. Like, is that just happening? Is Soroka just coming back, barring some more crazy, absolutely?
He's got 3 or 4 more starts. He's got 3 or 4 more starts. But if he comes out there in his next 2 starts, he's pitching in Gwinnett on his next one. But if he comes out and he does what he did, then he's going to be up here on this big league club middle of September.
Dealing.
They're high A ball. They're A ball hitters.
But still,
I'll take it with a grain of salt.
7 Ks in like 3 innings. Like, that dude was dealing.
Commanding your stuff. Stuff looked good. I don't know.
It's not easy. Like, the distractions
right where
of going to Rome. You got Berry College and the views over in Rome, Georgia. Like, it's easy to get lost in just the college town vibe of Rome, Georgia when you're doing those rehab starts. Like, in Gwinnett, being at Coolray, we'll see that this in the next couple days with that. Like, how is he going to deal with the Mall of Georgia right down the street? Like, does he get distracted? Does he hit Taco Mac before? There's all kinds of distractions. So we'll see how ready Mike Soroka is very soon.
Rome, Georgia, the distraction capital of the world.
We'll say, though, that Berry College, very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. Big. I think it's the biggest campus in the country, if I remember correctly. Like, I think they actually have like the most land. I'm pretty certain that Berry
does not surprise me. That would not surprise me in the slightest.
That would surprise me a ton.
I'm pretty sure Berry's the biggest.
Country?
I'm pretty sure Berry.
No, they have a lot of space. They own just.
Might be world too. Hold on, let me look this up. This is a very Atlanta sports guy thing. Yeah, they own 20. Yeah, the world's largest campus, 27,000 acres.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that many. I thought it was gonna be like,
dude,
10,
it's huge. It stretches all over the place. It's like that.
Wow.
It's wild. Yeah, see, world's largest campus. Okay, I thought it was the United States, and I was a little hesitant to even say that. But yeah, no, it's a fun time for the Atlanta folks tuning into the Atlanta Sports Guys today. If you haven't already, go check out Berry College.
We're a state encompassing podcast here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited. I think by the end of it, Michael Harris extended. I will say it's a weird feeling with this stuff. I will always feel a little bit like it's just weird to celebrate getting these stars on a bargain contract for several years. We were like, I mean, barring injury, you were going to make a lot more money than that in the next couple of years, and you probably should have held out for a couple more years and just gone to arbitration and just made a bunch of money.
Look at it this way. It's an 8-year deal. I mean, it's an 8-year deal. They only have the 3 years, assuming that they continue to progress. But
yeah,
they're making 10 times what they would be making next year. 10 times over the next 5 years, they're making way more money, way more guaranteed, and you're locked in, and you know exactly where you're going to be. It's a comfort of knowing where you're going to be. That matters to a lot of people.
To me, it makes me feel more weird about the arbitration system than like the Braves. Like, it's just like it's weird that is like a mutually beneficial deal. Like, you look at Ronald Acuña's contract and it's like legitimately should be illegal. I honestly paying off, but that's the price of like you are buying out the pre-arbitration years, and like that is, Garrett said, like that is valuable. That has value in itself, but it does make me like second guess sort of the whole arbitration system rather than like the Braves practices within it.
And I'm not saying the Braves practices are not bad. Like, let me be clear. I'm not saying the Braves practices are not bad. I just think it's weird when fans celebrate like, oh, we're getting this guy for a bargain. We got another one for a bargain. We locked up another superstar young for less money than he's worth. Got him.
These guys, it's Alex Anthopoulos is sold. He's sold a culture of winning and a strong clubhouse and development. And it's like, hey, I'm gonna lock you into this group. You're gonna win a lot of baseball games. You're set for life financially. Like, okay,
but it's still, I mean, you're leaving money on the table. Let's be clear here. Like,
sure, and these guys know that. But the thing is, it's like they're guaranteed. They saw what happened with Freddie. They know they see these fans. They love this fan base. Many of these guys grew up Braves fans. They're playing at home in front of their home stadium, like for their friends and family. Michael Harris is from DeKalb County.
Yeah.
There's and you're going to make generational money to play for the team that you grew up cheering for in front of your friends and family, and you're going to win a lot of baseball games and compete for World Series every single year for the next decade. Check. That's it. That's all I need to hear. That's all I need to hear if I'm Michael Harris. And if he continues to play at the level that he's playing, he's going to be out of this deal at age 30, and he's going to. It's not like he's too old to go make a big contract. He's still going to go sign an 8-year deal. And he's going to make a fortune if he is the player that everyone thinks that he can be.
I don't know. I'm telling my
he can still sign that.
I'm telling my
$300 million contract. I wouldn't put it past him.
Look, I love Cobb County and playing in Cobb County, but I'm just going to go ahead and do a couple more years of arbitration, and then we'll see at 24, 25, 26 what my value is in the market. Because if Harris is playing at the level he is right now out of the gate, this man was in high school 3 years ago.
He was taking the AP exams 2 years ago.
Yeah, my guess is in his mid-20s, I think he would earn a lot more money if he waited. But
he can both be making generational, life-changing money that is like good for his life and also be underpaid.
Yes.
Also, leaving money on the table.
Stop celebrating this. That's all I ask. Is like no celebrating,
especially in
a
non-salary cap league.
Yes,
that is
stop
the key
doing
here.
this. Like, please stop. Like,
but one thing that this does say, and I'm just, the more I'm thinking about it, and the more I talk to people about it, the more I get a gut feeling that this team is really going to go make an offer for Jacob deGrom.
Oh,
I think it's going to happen. The more I think about it, the more I see all of these other moves that they're locking up skill players. I just call them skill players, position players. They're going to go in and go sign a top end pitcher.
Well, because
you got money coming off.
Have to agree on a 1 year deal. Like, we're not.
It's going to be a 2-3 year deal. It's going to be a 2 or 3 year deal. But he's going to come in and he's going to make $25 million, $30 million a year.
How many starts has DeGrom made in the last 2 years? 6?
I don't care if I can get Jacob deGrom in here for 2 years. Did you see that performance?
You're not getting Jacob deGrom for 2 years, though. Like, the idea that you're getting those kind of, like, the starts
I'll do it. I'll do it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm doing it in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me?
I would do it
no
from, like,
question.
The Dodgers.
He's the best pitcher. He's the best pitcher that we've seen in the last decade.
Hold on, but have you seen who's on the market next year? There's options.
Jacob DeGrom's on the market. That's all I need to know. And he's a
I-
Braves fan. He grew up a Braves fan.
We
Bring
don't
him
just
into
have
Braves
to,
country,
like,
man.
are you a Braves fan? All right, done. Let's
Half the
lock
team
him
are
in.
Braves fans, man. Come on. Everyone's
You
a
know
Braves
who else is a
fan.
Braves fan? Freddie.
He's not a
Freeman.
Mets fan. Yeah, that's true. But no, I mean, the more I think about it, though, the more I'm like,
I'll say Noah
Charlie
Syndergaard is
Morton's
more
not going to be
likely.
on this team next year. They need another pitcher. Let's get an ace. They're going to Mike Soroka on an affordable deal. Max Fried is still under contract for the next 2 years. Give me Jacob DeGrom. I'll do it.
All right. I mean,
Come
we'll
on.
see.
It's gonna. I just have a gut feeling Braves are at least going to be in play. They're going to be in play for Jacob DeGrom.
I think Mike Minor is a little bit more realistic. Mike Minor reunion, bringing
Also a
the
Braves
lefty
fan.
I like Mike
sensation.
Minor. Also a
What's
Braves fan.
Jair Jurgens up to? Can we get Jurgens back for?
Julio Teheran. Let's go grab him. I don't know. He's somewhere.
He's eminently available in case he wants to come back.
I need one more start from Tukey. I need one more start to figure out if it's going to work.
I love that curveball, man. I miss that curveball.
Max Marcovitch, find you on Twitter at Max_Marcovitch. Garrett Chapman at GChapATL. W Millennials back this week.
Not this week, man. We got
No?
the Corky Kill Classic.
We're not
It's been
calling
awful.
it that anymore. So Corky Cal, you can
Fake Corky Kill.
yeah, like rest
The
in peace,
pseudo
Corky
Kill Classic.
Cal. You know what it is? It's some bullshit. What
Ooh.
that is? Yeah,
It's gonna be some great football, though. I'm so excited for this game.
Well, I was there last night, Rivalry Thursday here in Tennessee. I'll be at the game tonight, different Oak Ridge game. But yeah.
Your boys over in Nashville are coming down to the Freedom Bowl.
Who?
What is it? The I don't
Lipscomb?
know. Yeah,
Brentwood?
Lipscomb.
Lipscomb, yeah. You know who the head coach of Lipscomb
Yeah.
is?
He's Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer is the coach
Yeah.
of
No
Lipscomb.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Trent Dilfer's coming down. He's going to be at Walton. It's Thompson, Alabama, playing Buford High School.
Hmm.
That's the number 11 team and the number 14 team in the country.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very fun.
Top players going to Alabama, Clemson, all kinds of LSU. It's going to be an incredible game.
Speaking of Jordan Matthews, Ricky Gibson. Sorry about Ricky Gibson. That was rough.
I love high school football. It's going to be fun.
Max Markovich, Garrett Chapman, always a pleasure. I will talk to y'all next week.